Hey everyone, welcome to Patriot or Soapbox, where I give you my commentary on the news today as reported by the Wall Street Journal. Now, normally I'd be filming this later in the day, but today because it's snowing outside, it's my school canceled classes, so yay! Get sort of a day off. I may still have to do studying, but yeah, somewhat of a day off. Funny thing is, like when I look at the window, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of snow because I'm from Texas. Like if there's this much snow in Texas, as there is here, it'd be considered to be like the apocalypse down there. But apparently here, I live 10 miles from the beach, so when I look at the window, I think, wow, it's a lot of snow. And then I drive anywhere else, I'm like, no, that's not a lot of snow. Elsewhere, there's a lot of snow because like apparently if you live by the beach, you get less snow. Like it's not as thick as elsewhere in the state. So if I live like in like Western Mass, then I'd be buried right now probably in snow. But let's get started with the news. First up, President Trump has levied even more tariffs now on steel and aluminum on Brazil and Argentina, which actually I'm getting kind of tired of the tariffs, to be honest. Like it's not gonna do anything but hurt his re-election chances. I mean, you could try to spin it as like trying to put pressure on other countries, but ultimately, I feel like it runs the risk of pinching the economy just a little too much, and then he loses up, and then he can't really use the economy to boost him into re-election. So maybe Trump should ease off the tariffs before things get really, really bad. And then credit unions are getting much more ambitious. Like they're offering more and more financial services. They actually now make up almost a third of almost a third of auto loans are issued by credit unions. They've grown about twice as fast as banks have in the past over the past decade, and they survived the 2008 crash much better. Which begs the question, though, what is a credit union? Because I mean, we see credit unions around. They look like banks. They act like banks. They promote themselves sort of like, I don't know, like the how do you say it? Like the nice bank, the friendly community bank, not the big greedy bank. But there's a reason for that characterization, though, and the reason is that a credit union differs from a bank in a few different ways. Like, well, first of all, they're similar because you can have savings and checking accounts in both of them. Both of them usually offer a debit or credit card. They're both offering online banking. You can get loans, mortgages, auto loans, all that kind of stuff from both a credit union and a bank. But the difference is like the main difference is who owns it. So in the bank, it's typically some form of a public corporation, like if it's a large bank. But regardless, the stockholders, whether it's on a publicly listed stock exchange or whether the stock is owned by private investors, the bank's still owned by stockholders they are the ones who vote in the board of directors for the bank, and then those directors pick officers, etc. Whereas in a credit union, anyone who has money invested into it is considered an owner, and they can elect board members on a one person, one vote basis, regardless of how much money they have invested in the credit union. And so that's why credit unions sort of like the fact that they're technically non-profits because they're meant to serve communities, not make a profit, but they're not like charities. But for tax purposes, they're still non-profits, which make the reason why they're different than from banks is because they try to be more community focused than stockholder focused. So they focus more on the stakeholder than the shareholder. So credit unions are a little bit of a taste of what Warren would be doing. Although actually Elizabeth Warren probably heavily taxed credit unions, like blindly behind them banks. But yeah, so if you ever wonder what on earth the difference between a credit union and a bank, there you go. It's pretty much the only difference is who owns the bank. Then some schools that have tried, some schools in the country, about like it's now almost 3% of public schools have tried the YearRound School idea to avoid what's known as the summer slide, which is the term that teachers use to describe how students like lose a little bit of learning over the summer because it's 3 months straight and not doing any school. So to try to avoid this summer slide, they tried Some schools imposed a year-round school year and just took longer breaks throughout the year to make up for it. However, a lot of parents don't really like that. First of all, it's there's the idea of like a summer break, and they don't really have that long summer break, and so that's the main reason. They also just don't want their kids working all year. So a lot of schools are cutting back on the whole idea of a 12-month school year. And then let's see, for the first time in about 11 years since DC versus Heller in 2008, the Supreme Court's going to take up a gun rights case, and the case involves a New York law or New York City law that banned gun owners from taking their guns outside the city, and it's already a Herculean challenge to get a gun in New York City anyway, so the rules made it even harder. And once the Supreme Court case was announced, because the NRA filed the lawsuit, they got New York State rescinded the law, but they did that right, and now their defending argument is, hey, we got rid of it, so case dropped. But the Supreme Court the Supreme Court is debating over whether or not to still allow it, because the issue for the case is no longer there, but it also boils down to, can New York be trusted to not impose this again? Like, is it going to come before the Supreme Court again? So the liberals say, let's just get rid of it. We don't need this case, probably because they want to be able to infringe on gun rights even more. But the conservatives are like, no, it's still a case, because just because they dropped it doesn't mean they're not going to reimpose it. So without a Supreme Court ruling, then they can just easily bring it back, and so could any other state. And hopping over to the op-ed section, let's see. There's one titled, "Will Bloomberg buy the election?" Because naturally, when this guy, he's actually richer than Donald Trump, but his net worth is about 10, 15 times higher or so. And because Trump has $3 to $4 billion net worth, Bloomberg's closer to $54 billion, so that's well over 10 times Trump's net worth. And obviously, Sanders and Warren, the billionaire bashers, are going to say this guy's evil because he has money. Makes no sense. The Bible never said that money was the root of all evil. It said that the love of money was the root of all evil. Like, greed is the root. Greed and envy. Not having money. It's the greed that makes it bad. And Bloomberg, I don't know his character, but I can't imagine he'd be like that. I don't think he's like that greedy. He's a businessman. And if you're greedy in business, you're typically not going to do well. You'll eventually be caught, and even if you do well initially, you'll be thrown in jail. Ask Bernie Madoff. So naturally, the topic of Citizens United came up, because that's ever since that case was decided in 2010, it's been the left's favorite thing for saying, look at money is too deeply entrenched in politics. Blah 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 blah. But it actually. Citizens United is actually a victory for the First Amendment, because the FEC had banned a documentary critical of Hillary Clinton right before the 2008 primaries. That's part of what started the case. And the problem with that is that it's just another piece of political advertising. Why ban it right before the primaries? And so Citizens United was a big victory for the First Amendment, because it also rolled back some funding rules, because money in politics equals speech, because you vote with your dollar. You do that when you buy your stuff, so at the store, and so you also do that when you donate money to certain candidates. And so Bernie Sanders brought up the issue of say he wants to overturn Citizens United, and says that Bloomberg trying to buy the election with his vast checkbook is the case of why is an example of why Citizens United is bad. But Citizens United has actually nothing to do with this, because Citizens United governed donations to candidates and ads they could run. It didn't govern money the candidates could use themselves. Bloomberg has said, I'm not taking any donations. And so even if Citizens United were overturned tomorrow, it won't, or even today, it wouldn't affect Bloomberg's campaign at all, because it's his money that he's using. He's not taking donations from anybody, so it's not going to help. And so if Bloomberg, the point of his op-ed is that if Bloomberg were to lose, then he would actually prove the rich by elections wrong, because he's by far the richest guy running for president right now. By far. Like, not even Trump comes close. And so if he loses, then there goes the argument that the rich by elections. And so I actually rooted for Bloomberg to lose to finally put the whole money and politics thing to rest. Sheesh. So, and then finally there's an op-ed entitled "Trump Wins the Populist Patriots," basically describing President Trump's base. I mean, the people that pushed him into office. The people were angry at both the political right and the political left. They didn't like how the political left trying to like erase American culture. Like, Barack Obama called himself the citizen of the world, and he said that he only believed in American exceptionalism to the extent, like, say, the British believed in British exceptionalism, or the Russians believed in Russian exceptionalism, or the Indians believed in Indian exceptionalism. So, and then even more, and then, not surprisingly, Michelle Obama said that that the first time she was proud of her country, like being the United States, was when her husband Obama announced his candidacy for office. So that shows a pretty firm rejection, like, you know, the idea of, like, faith in the country. And there's also the you know, like the kneeling for the anthem, the trying to erase traditional patriotism and American values, saying that America is too saddled by racism and sexism to move on and be the best nation. So, first of all, Trump's base doesn't like that, doesn't like the idea of erasing America. But then the right's not exactly innocent in either, because it's mainly on the issue of free trade, like, because free trade led to open borders. So, hey, right wingers are complaining about open borders. Let's not forget that your wing of the political spectrum started with the whole thing, or at least contributed in large part to it by promoting free trade. Because with free trade, you need to have stuff be able to move easily, and that requires open borders. So, if you want free trade, then you're gonna have to have open borders. They pretty much go hand in hand. But initially, the idea of free trade was pushed on the American people with the promise that it would increase jobs, but it's actually decreased them because jobs have moved over into other countries, which is bad for the United States, because not only take away jobs, but we also lose some sort of, like, self-sufficiency. I mean, no country is completely economically self-sufficient, and it shouldn't be, because nations that don't trade with other nations don't usually do well, because, like, when you trade, you share expertise. Like, you make what you can, you trade for what you can't. But the United States should still have, like, some sort of manufacturing capability, just in case the country we're depending on decides to turn unfriendly, so we can do stuff ourselves until you know, we find someone else to do it for us. Maybe we should take some stuff back. We should also take some back from China too, because because the whole intellectual property theft and unfair trade rules over there. So, in sum, the populist patriots, as Trump's base is called, they don't like the left because they're erasing America. They don't like the right because they're taking the jobs. So it's and Trump was the guy who promised to fix both things. Like, you know, put America first. Saying America first rejects both that left and right idea. Like, first of all, the idea of America, like, you know, America, like, fully affirming the idea that America is good and should be protected. And also the idea that America should come first. That's a rejection of both the leftist and right-wing orthodoxy. And the op-ed concludes with saying, who after Trump can win over the populist patriots? Like, who's next? Who's next to fill his shoes? I don't know, but I guess after he wins 2020, the question will be answered in 2024 in the next election. That's all I got for you on this edition of Patriot Resell Box. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great daily content.